Ciao, good day. Today I have a very specific topic I want to talk about. Now, I've been having trouble making some of these talk videos because I realized that, you never really know when one of them just might fly off into the internet, and so I don't want to just I don't even really want to be vulgar anymore. In the other videos I was making, I would get vulgar and I was trying to talk to you like I would normally talk, and I'm going to try not to do that anymore because I really just don't know when one of these videos, it could happen at any given time, and I don't really want to be made a fool of. And I also don't want to say things that aren't, 100% accurate. Now, what I came to talk about today is the subcultures, and I want to try and discuss how I think the subcultures, and when I say subcultures, I mean the gothic subculture, I mean the hip hop subculture, the punk rock subculture, the folk music subculture. And I kind of want to explain how I think these are, just like I tried to say how rock and roll was and was not at the same time a uniquely American creation. I kind of want to also cover this ground with just the subcultures in general because we noticed that in America there are an awful lot of subcultures, and I do think in some way that uh, in the old world they don't play along these lines as much. You'll notice a lot of the times that it's a big thing in the old world when the old world countries watch our movies, for instance. They're always quite perplexed by the American high school and the way it's portrayed, because American high school is always portrayed, and you see it if you actually go to American high school, at least to the public ones. The jocks, the goths, the cheerleaders, the popular people, so on and so forth. These are like really dominant ideas that we have, and I do think that a lot of it arises from political issues. Now, a part of the reason I think we gave birth, because personally, in my opinion, it was Americans who gave birth to the subculture. I mean, I certainly believe that we mostly gave birth to the commercial aspect of it. What we kind of do is these things rise up in various ways, and then we swoop in and grab them, and we create a product out of it that's then sold en masse. You understand? Sold to masses, huge masses of people, and by that point, it loses meaning. And obviously it keeps some meaning, but it also loses it. And then, of course, we have to remember that at the very tip top, okay, there is the overall culture, and it's what reaches the overall culture. For instance, one thing I could point out that I have on right now is earrings. Now, 40 years ago, it would have been unthinkable for a regular male to wear earrings. We see that there are still some, culture moves so slow that there are still some people who look at my earrings and are like, oh, you're some sort of rebel. You're some sort of, what are you trying to be with your earrings? What are you trying to be? And it's like, dude, you're behind the times, okay? Because um, earrings trickled down. It's like the tattoo, I mean, initially the tattoo was a symbol for prison gangs. Everybody knows this. In Russia, it still is. They talk in code in the Russian prisons, which apparently I think are pretty hardcore. But American prisons are pretty hardcore too. But I think something about Russia just seems hardcore, and probably because it's freezing fucking cold. I'm vulgar. I'm getting vulgar here, but it's freezing cold there, so it seems hardcore. But anyways, the tattoo we see now, it has filtered down into the point where it's not totally acceptable, but you'll find a lot of guys who, I went and put the tattoo I put it in a bad spot, but I should have put it up here. You put it up here. Most guys have to. A lot of guys do. It filtered down. It became something that we're able to do. It was initially a part of the subculture. Let's not say filtered down. Let's actually say filtered up, because that's really more what happens. Anytime it gets to the top there, that's the top of society. And most of the time, all the significant changes, and you'll see a lot of the creativity, is always coming from the underclass. And it's widely known, and my buddy always comments on it, how America has a huge issue with accepting the fact that there is an upper class and there is an underclass here. And I would say that I'm basically in the underclass. So it's not even funny, really. It's a nightmarish existence. But so we have the underclass and then we have the upper class. And typically it seems a lot of the underground movements, obviously, I mean, hey man, they're underground, so they start in the underclass, you see. And what I find the most interesting of all is the fact that we created, again, we created these subcultures. Now, why did Americans, out of everybody in the world, really create the subculture? For instance, we really even almost, if you think about anime, Japanese anime, okay, it's very popular with people here, and it's almost become a subculture now. It has, as far as I'm concerned, it is a subculture. The kids who are into anime, they hang out together. They congregate together. They become a crew together. And anytime you see, they wear clothing. They wear similar clothing to each other. They share inside jokes. These are all the staples of a certain clique beginning to form. Now, I don't know if I've heard that in Japan the anime is not nearly as highly regarded. Okay, but here it is. So and we've even gone so far as to create a commercial empire out of it, and we do this with everything. Because it's the way of the capitalism, you see. So whatever we just have to do it with everything, and hip hop started out so not angry, but it started out as such um, a force. When you look back at the beginnings of the hip hop culture, it started out, it was gonna tell us something, and then we see now that it's just become, drop it like it's hot. 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 And that's all good and fine. That song is fine. I'm not against that song, and I want to make that clear. A lot of the time I'll be discussing things with people and they just don't get it. I'm not against that song. What I'm against is the way that the culture gets sucked out of the entire genre, and that the only songs that we're allowing to become popular are just the dance songs. You see, because there was a time when pop culture overall was particularly aggressive, politically minded, and not well informed. I would never say that the pop culture people were ever well informed. The average pop culture freak. But I would say that they were, without one doubt, aware. Especially, and I think, personally, I think it was at its height. I think there were two cultures, two subcultures, okay? And this is what I want, this is what I've been trying to get at. I've been trying to work my way through the woods because I want to have an in-depth conversation about two subcultures in particular. And what I want to try and describe is how these two subcultures are completely different. And I mean this. I get angry because they're completely different from any other subculture, as far as I'm concerned, that ever came to exist on American soil. These two subcultures. And in my opinion, these two subcultures are numero uno, rock and roll of the hippie strain, and numero due, punk rock. These, to me, are the two most different subcultures that have ever existed here. And I'm going to explain why they're so different. I'm going to try and touch upon, dance music culture. I'm going to touch upon metalhead music culture. I'm going to touch upon techno. I'm going to touch upon, obviously, hip hop, which ties intricately in with dance. I'm going to touch upon all these things, and I'm going to try to explain to you, gentle viewer, gentle listener, exactly what is so different about rock and roll and of the hippie strain and punk rock versus, and I'm not saying they're superior, I'm just saying they are definitely different. People compare the two constantly, and I don't think that these comparisons are fair, and I don't think that people who are comparing these things know what they're talking about in a way. So I will try to draw and explain to you just what I see, because I do consider myself a bit of a scholar of both the hip-hop and the punk rock worlds. So I do think that I'm able to bring a completely unique and individual view. So I hope you will enjoy the next video where we get into this. Thank you.